Toronto has been turned into a police state. I mean, there are just police everywhere. They're searching you, your knapsacks when you come into a park.
And they're trying to search people's bags as they're coming into the park. People are refusing. They're tackling them to the ground. And I'm thinking, these people should really have some kind of legal consultation to call and say, hey, is this right? Because we know, if they arrest you, then they have all right to go through your belongings. But if you haven't been arrested, then really they have no reason to be going through your belongings.
We're here today because we are in resistance, and we will not be intimidated by metal fences. We will not be intimidated by the thousands of police officers here across the city who are here to scare us, to scare protesters, to scare activists, to scare ordinary people from taking part in these social movements. And you know what? Look the hell around. We are here today still.
In Allen Gardens, we got the whole square block of Allen Gardens is lined with police officers.
This is basically our leaders taking our tax money and spending $800 million on security. I walk to work every day this week seeing 20, 30 police officers at a time coming out of 4-star hotels. And so I'm not surprised because, you know what, our leaders are totally out of touch with how we want them to be working for us and how we want our money to be spent. And $800 million going towards overkill on police standing around watching us peacefully protest and staying in 4-star hotels for an entire week, or if not longer, is completely out of line, but also not surprising because our leaders are totally out of touch.
And the $1.2 billion that's been spent on this could be so much better put to use to actually, feed the poor, house the homeless, protect the disadvantaged.
But who did they really protect when it came down to it? They were given an order to stand down and not apprehend these black bloc, violent provocateurs. You have to understand, $1 billion was spent of our money, our taxpayers' money. We just got robbed. In past summits in Montebello, police were known to infiltrate black bloc operatives, and they were dressed up as black bloc operatives. They were caught on record by the CBC. So not only do they insinuate the violence, they cause it. Because why? Well, if you spend $1 billion for security and enhanced police tactics, they need to have an excuse. They need to justify that much money spent. Never in the history of the world has $1 billion been spent to protect the city. Never has $1 billion spent. We just got robbed. Our city got hijacked for 3 days.
Video of the firebombing was posted online just hours after it happened. An improvised explosive device ignites, and 2 men can be seen running from the bank. This morning, police announced a break in the case.
I'm very pleased to bring this portion of the RBC arson file to a close, and I firmly believe Ottawa is safer today than yesterday.
But the identities of the suspects have taken some here by surprise. Charged are 58-year-old Roger Clement, a former federal government worker, 32-year-old Matthew Morgan Brown, a well-known political activist who's been arrested in past protests, and 50-year-old Claude Herridge, a respected engineer. Herridge is a close friend of this former University of Ottawa professor who taught 2 of the suspects in a controversial course on political activism. Police raided Herridge's West Ottawa home yesterday and found hundreds of rounds of ammunition, including some used in sniper rifles and machine guns. The anti-establishment group behind the attack and the video originally threatened further action, citing the upcoming G8 G20 meetings as possible targets. But police say everyone involved has been caught.
Certainly it's a relief.
The arrests come just days before the summits are to begin.
And we're told by the chief of police, Vern White, that everything's a done deal.
Because they had the 3 that they had suspected.
That's what they presented.
They arrested 3 people.
Yeah. Because in the video, you see 3 people. You see 2 people walking out of the bank and somebody taking a video. So the first press expose is that the 3 people are caught. But then in a less prominent article, about a week later, you find out that one of the individuals, Claude, is not charged with bombing. He's charged with unrelated crimes. So the fact remains that there are 3 individuals that did this crime. You see that in that 2 people run out of the bank and somebody is videotaping it, who's obviously involved. And my question is, who is that 3rd person? And I asked around, and I'm told that this individual is known to the activist community, and that his name is Francois Leclerc, and that he is a police agent. And yes, well, I'm being told it for sure, but I can't take that as a fact because I haven't confirmed.
Wow, might there have been a terrorist among us living in Forest Hill?
While statistically, obviously, there's always a chance of anything, it strikes me that given his high degree of literacy, his really excellent understanding of police capabilities, of surveillance capabilities, if he wanted to be off-grid, he could. But he chose not to. He was very explicit in the way that he was public and open with all his actions, which if you really were planning to do something would clearly be ineffective because obviously they paid attention to him and arrested him. But it strikes me both with the weapon charge that he only faced one count, which means he only had one weapon. In fact, one of our mutual friends has told me that Byron had a potato gun. And that Byron built this potato gun 5 or 6 years ago. And most geeks have potato guns. I mean, they're, sort of part of engineering school. They're part of, the natural progression into geekhood. And so that could easily be the weapon. And then in terms of explosives, I mean, he did say that he was trying to trigger false positives. So, he might have bought, say, fertilizer. He might have bought things from the drugstore in hopes that they would look through his purchase patterns, in hopes that they would look through his credit card so that he could then turn around and say, hey, I wasn't planning to do any of this, but this proves that you went looking and did that type of surveillance. I suspect that all of this was him underestimating the extent to which they would come down and underestimating the extent to which they would prosecute him to the full letter of the law. But I still at this point believe that next week he's going to come out and say, this was all a stunt. I did this to demonstrate how absurd this is, how much of a circus this is, and I don't mind sort of, being that type of fall guy if it means that society is able to criticize the, $1+ billion that's spent.
Well, this is serious, Jesse. I mean, it's serious, of course, if he's guilty of these charges, if he had violent intent. But it's really serious as well if he is not guilty.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toronto is in police state lockdown. You are free to do as you are told. You are free to have your bag searched arbitrarily. You are free to hand in your identification. Please look up to your nearest CCTV camera so your face may be reported. You're all guilty until proven innocent. Anyone disobeying or not showing their ID quickly enough will be detained by the police for a total of 20 hours, much like I was. On Thursday, I was taken to the Toronto film studios. They kept handcuffs on me for 5 hours behind my back. They had 4 detectives to interview me every 2 hours, calling me a violent anarchist, which is quite ironic because my group from England is called the Love Police. And we are here to raise love and lower fear.
Our street, our street, whose 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 street, our street.
Enlightened sovereignty.
You think we don't know what you're doing in there? But we do. We're paying attention. We're wide awake and you're not going to get away with it.
Do you guys think that like a G20 meeting or something like this, do you think that they're going to make an environmental announcement? Do you think there's going to be
It's a joke, man. It is business as usual is continuing. The whole thing is they're criminals. BP is criminals. The Obama administration has helped them cover it up. They want to talk about violence. What is happening in the Gulf of Mexico is violence, and whatever protesters do or don't do over the weekend, it will pale in comparison to the destruction that is caused every day by these people. And the tar sands is another example of that. They're destroying, the natural environment.
They're killing indigenous communities. They're like actually poisoning the water supply. People are getting cancer and all types of diseases because they want to get rich, and they know what the consequences are, and they still do it.
They don't care. They do not care about us or our community.
Come on, see you in the streets. Yeah, just the logic. Yeah, G20, they few, we many. G20, they few, we many. There's nowhere
you can't go in the world without opposition to your plans on making it twirl around your greedy fingers. We watching it swirl down the drain, insane economics unfurl. See, we're not buying what you're selling, even with your propaganda telling media barons rebelling. We're yelling, no justice, no peace in the streets.